Hello everyone, and welcome to the final episode of my elaborate Fallout fanfiction series, Raiders of New York. If you have no idea what this all is, go watch the playlist. The first episode will cover the basic premise, and everything after fleshes out the world in different ways. For this episode though, I'll be focusing on the main antagonist faction of the entire game, going over how they were created, what their current situation is, and how you'd be able to deal with them. This is my ideal next game Fallout enemy faction. Hope you enjoy. The key to this faction isn't the rank and file members. They're honestly just your standard raiders that could fit into any Fallout game. The real interesting part comes from their leader, an individual who was underutilized in their own game, who didn't get the ending they deserved, and who I have already made videos on. Kellogg. A few of you have already clicked with what's going on here, but I'm certain there'll be a couple out there assuming I've messed up the editing a bit because I just said Kellogg, but I'm showing Nick Valentine on screen. That's all because of this moment in Fallout 4.
Hey, Valentine.
Hope you got what you were looking for inside my head. I was right. I should have killed you when you were on ice.
Kellogg. Is that you?
What are you talking about?
You sounded like Kellogg just then.
Did I? Huh. Amari said there might be some mnemonic impressions left over. Anyway, I feel fine, so let's get going.
While this scene never led to something in the game, my hope is that it's a tease for the future of Valentine and Kellogg, where the synthetic mind is taken over by the cyborg, Kellogg biding his time over the years until he is able to assert his control over Nick's body. Once this happens, Kellogg is then able to use his new body as a disguise, taking out key targets who may want him dead with surprise assassinations. And key among these targets would be the sole survivor, the protagonist and player character of Fallout 4. They were the one who killed Kellogg, and as much as he may respect them, he knows they can't be allowed to live. After this has been achieved, it's time for Kellogg to get into a position of power. He's seen how working for others always ends up, so decides to start his own faction. Starting small, he rounds up stragglers from raider gangs, leading them on low-scale raids to show his strength. Once he has amassed as much as he reasonably can from the Commonwealth, he launches one large raid on a Minutemen settlement, burning it to the ground with ease, and using the flaming ruin as a beacon to let all raiders know of his gang. Raider activity in the Commonwealth is less than ideal for Kellogg's purposes, and as such he takes his gang to somewhere new, somewhere that is rumoured to be a constant battleground for various raider gangs. New York. Here he finds the perfect opportunity, dozens of raider gangs all struggling for dominance and shifting in power. The top dogs at the time were the Dead Brahmin, a relatively small raider gang by Wasteland standards, but just strong enough to have made it to the top, albeit likely not for long. Rather than slowly fight his way up the ranks and take on gang after gang, he instead organises a meeting with the Dead Brahmin, claiming to wish to ally with them. He leaves his own raiders outside and heads in alone to parley with the overboss. But the second the opportunity arises, he kills the boss in front of their own gang. The audacity of this action staggers all the raiders for a second, and he takes the moment to declare himself the new overboss, assuring the Dead Brahmin raiders that they can keep their gang as it is, just with him as the new boss. He didn't care what the gang was called, he just wanted to be on top. First port of call for that was to establish a stronghold, which showed everyone in the wasteland who was truly in charge. And so his sights were set on Liberty Island. The place had been overrun with violent supermutants, and been categorised as a no-go zone by all the gangs. But Kellogg didn't care. Everything had been easy up till now, and his new gang would need a trial by fire with him leading the charge, if he was to keep them in order. The assault on the island cost many lives, but this didn't matter. With the island occupied, new recruits would come flocking in, eager to join the undisputed King of New York. And this is how things remained for several years. The Dead Brahmin are the top gang in NYC, and nobody dares move against them. It's not until you, as the player character, arrive, would things finally have the potential to shift. The main quest of the game is to join a faction and help them take Liberty Island, becoming the primary power of the area. Choose which faction best aligns with your character, build up your standing with the group, and then attack Kellogg and his faction. The normal way this final quest will play out is you taking your faction for a full-on assault on Liberty Island. The battle itself would take place in several stages. First of all is trying to break onto the island itself and get inside the building. The exterior is guarded by a huge host of enemy raiders, and led by Roland, a deadly sniper who will attempt to dead-eye you before you can get close. He would serve as the first of 3 mini-bosses you need to fight your way through. Beat him and you get inside the fort structure, but Kellogg is at the very top of a statue, in a command post constructed within the partially destroyed Liberty torch that the statue wields. You're going to need to climb the stairs up, but to reach them you've got to make it through Diesel and his squad of power armor raiders. Another mini-boss, but this time less glass cannon and much more tank. Survive this fight and you make it to the final mini-boss of the area, Spike. She's not as specialised as the other two, instead just being a much more powerful raider than any you will have encountered by now. She's smart, she's strong, and she's intent on killing you. But obviously it's possible to beat her, and when you do, you finally arrive at Kellogg's command post. There's no guards, no more raiders, just you, Kellogg, and whichever faction leader you decided to side with. Conrad Kellogg will attempt to speak to you, but choice is a key part of my ideal Fallout game, so you could just attack him straight away if you wanted. The fight with him will also be tough, but this time the numbers are guaranteed to be on your side, as both you and your ally are taking on a lone combatant. Kill him and you set up your faction as the ruler of the Wastes, and have officially beat the main story of the game. But it doesn't have to end that way. Even the fights with the mini-bosses don't have to be lethal. I'd want options for pacifist characters, for stealth builds, as many options as can be possible. But the most interesting choices would come with the Kellogg encounter. You would be provided with several different dialogue paths leading to different results. Convince him to surrender, and the choice of what happens then falls on the shoulders of your chosen faction. Some, such as the Thieves Guild, have no interest in murder, and would simply exile Kellogg. Others are well aware of the danger he poses, and will choose to execute him. I would also like the option to revive Nick Valentine and remove Kellogg's mind from his body. This would require its own hidden quest to have previously been completed, one where you gather information on how exactly the takeover occurred and find remnants of the Institute. Extract the required information from them and have the right skills, and you will be able to perform a surgery on a restrained Kellogg and remove him from the body of Nick Valentine. With Kellogg removed, Nick then returns, and will become a follower for you to travel with, him looking to redeem the things that his body has done to the world. There is one final interesting option for the Kellogg encounter, and that is to turn around, kill the faction leader you sided with, and then offer to join up with Kellogg as joint leaders of a dead Brahmin. You could also kill Kellogg at this point to become the sole leader, and wouldn't be the dumbest idea as he's unlikely to trust someone very much who had just executed a presumed friend with so little hesitation. This option would obviously instantly tank your karma and reputation, but I'm all about having options available, even if they're stupid ones for the player to take. And that is how the end of my ideal Fallout game would go. This series has been fun to make, but with the greater success of the Skyrim challenge run, I'll be ending this series early in order to create another challenge run in the not too distant future. There was plenty more planned with this series. I had multiple factions, including one obsessed with grafting cybernetics to themselves, and another faction made up of mutants who would allow you to gain mutations. I also have videos planned on the music, which is something I've already talked about in a previous video, and on the themes of the game and the Fallout franchise overall. Ultimately what I'm saying is, there was a lot more to this game that I had planned out, as I really do have an idea in my mind of what the next perfect Fallout game for me would be. But it's never going to be made. And while projects like this can be really fun to explore, it's always important to be realistic with what to expect from the franchises we love. I'm not expecting a single element of any of this series to make its way into the next actual Fallout game. But I'm still looking forward to seeing that game whenever it comes out, this decade or the next. I hope you all enjoyed this series while it lasted, and, as always, thanks for watching. Sarge out.